Why does sleep feel so unreachable, even when you're exhausted? This is episode 1 of 14 handcrafted Zen stories for deep sleep that cure insomnia naturally, helping you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake with a calmer mind. A gentle, proven path for stress relief and lasting inner peace, where ancient wisdom meets your modern struggles. Tonight, you'll be guided through the empty boat, a Zen parable about releasing blame and finding stillness in the midst of life's collisions. As each word flows, you'll drift away from the weight of your day, the thoughts, the tension, the silent heaviness you've been carrying, and closer to the quiet space where deep sleep and true peace begin naturally. Each chapter of this 14-part journey weaves timeless Buddhist wisdom with modern science, guiding you step by step toward a peace that lingers beyond sleep. And though tonight begins with an empty boat, far ahead lies a hidden bridge, a moment in the final episode where every step of this journey gathers into a single crossing and life, as you know it, quietly transforms. So settle in, let your shoulders drop, and if you feel called to, share softly in the comments the place where this moment is finding you, because though we may be scattered across the world, here in this stillness, we breathe as one. The parable of the empty boat. What if the anger you feel is merely a ripple, meeting an empty boat adrift on a quiet river? Close your eyes and allow the world to fade. Let go of the day. Let go of the room you are in. There is a confession your heart has been waiting to make, a silent truth that hums beneath the noise of your thoughts. It's a feeling of being pushed, of being struck by invisible forces, a restless sense that the world is demanding something you don't have to give. Perhaps it feels like you are navigating a crowded river in the dark, constantly bracing for impact, your shoulders tight with the expectation of a collision. This is the invisible pain of a mind that has been rowing too hard for too long. It is the exhaustion of believing you must steer against every current, fend off every stray vessel. But tonight, we will learn a different way, a way of stillness, a way of deep, healing peace. Picture yourself on a serene lake at dawn, mist curling over the water, your boat gliding silently. The air is cool and soft against your skin, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant pines. The only sound is the gentle lap of water against the hull, a quiet, rhythmic whisper. SHHHH, listen. In this place, the world slows down for you now. You are safe. You are held by the stillness of the water. Another boat drifts toward you, a dark shape in the silver mist, emerging slowly, carried only by the silent current. It moves without purpose, without a hand on its tiller. It is simply adrift, an object of the river's quiet will. In this moment, there is no threat. There is only the gentle, inevitable drift of things. Let this image hold you. Let it soothe the part of you that is always on watch. Breathe. The story that follows is an old one, a piece of timeless wisdom carried down through centuries, like a smooth river stone. It is a story about a man, a boat, and a moment of sudden, startling clarity. Let this story become your dream. A man, a scholar of Zen, decided to meditate on the river. He found a small, sturdy boat and rowed out to the very center of the lake, where the water was deepest and the silence was most profound. He closed his eyes, settled his posture, and began to follow his breath. Inhale the cool morning air. Exhale the release of tension. The sun began to climb, warming his face. The mist began to thin. For a long while, there was only peace, a deep, resonant stillness that seemed to emanate from the water itself and fill his entire being. He felt his mind quiet, the usual chatter fading into a gentle hum, like the distant sound of the wind. And then a sudden, jarring thud. His boat rocked violently. His eyes flew open, his meditation shattered. Anger, hot and immediate, flared in his chest. Who could be so careless, so rude as to disturb his peace in this vast, open space? He turned, his voice already forming a sharp rebuke, ready to shout at the fool who had crashed into him. He prepared to unleash the fire of his frustration, the story of his interrupted peace, the judgment of another's incompetence. But as he looked, he saw it. The other boat was empty. There was no one there, no careless fisherman, no joyful youth, no one to blame. It was just an empty boat, untethered from the shore, that had drifted on the current and bumped into his. In that instant, his anger had nowhere to go. It was a wave that rose to crash against a shore that wasn't there, a fire with no fuel. And so it dissolved. It simply vanished, sinking back into the calm, quiet water from which it had arisen. He looked at the empty boat, bobbing gently beside his own, and a slow smile spread across his face. He understood. So too are the actions that stir us. They are not personal, but drift from causes unseen. To see the empty boat is to release the fire of anger, letting it dissolve into the water's stillness. How many times a day, a week, a lifetime, do we find our peace disturbed by an empty boat? That car that cuts you off in traffic, it is an empty boat, piloted by a person lost in their own storm of thoughts, their own unseen currents of stress, lateness, or distraction. It was never about you. That sharp email from a colleague, it is an empty boat, sent adrift by pressures at their job, insecurities you cannot see, a bad night's sleep. The words were not aimed at your heart. They were simply cargo on a vessel they had lost control of. That thoughtless comment from a loved one, an empty boat. It drifted from a place of their own fear, their own history, their own unhealed wounds. It bumped into you, but its journey did not begin with you. Your mind, right now, might be a busy harbor filled with these boats. Each one represents a grievance, a resentment, a story of being wronged. You stand on the shore, pointing at each one, shouting, You bumped into me. You ruined my peace. And so you remain disturbed. You remain in a state of high alert. A harbor master policing every vessel, exhausting yourself with the impossible task of controlling the tides. The wisdom of Zen, the wisdom of Buddhist psychology, is not to build stronger walls around your harbor. It is not to become a better shouter. It is to look closer with eyes of compassion and clarity, and to see that all the boats are empty. They are phenomena, drifting through the vast space of existence, moved by a million complex, impersonal causes and conditions. Just like the weather, just like the changing of the seasons. You would not rage at a cloud for raining on you. You would not hold a grudge against the wind for being cold. You would simply notice it, perhaps put on a coat, and allow it to be what it is. This is the practice of letting go. Not a passive surrender, but an active, courageous recognition of reality. It is the practice of emotional release, of freeing yourself from the prison of personal offense. Let's bring this into your body. Feel the places where you hold onto these collisions. Perhaps it's a tightness in your jaw, a knot in your shoulders, a clenching in your stomach. Each one is a memory of an impact, a place where you are still bracing against an empty boat that has long since drifted away. Breathe into that space. As you inhale, imagine you are gathering all that tension, all that stored anger and resentment into a single point of light. And as you exhale, slowly, completely, imagine you are watching that light dissolve, just as the man's anger dissolved on the water. Let the silence speak where words no longer matter. In this stillness, you can begin to understand the neuroscience of this process. When you feel personally attacked, your amygdala, the brain's ancient alarm system, fires up. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline, preparing you for a fight that exists only in your interpretation. But when you see the empty boat, when you depersonalize the event, you engage your prefrontal cortex, the seat of wisdom, reason, and calm. You are consciously choosing not to fuel the fire. You are letting the wave of reactivity pass without being swept away by it. This is a powerful form of mental relaxation and a direct path to inner peace. It is a Buddhist meditation technique you can practice anytime, anywhere. When the feeling of anger or irritation arises, you can gently say to yourself, "Ah, an empty boat." No judgment, no need to suppress the feeling, just a quiet, compassionate label, empty boat. In doing so, you create a space between the stimulus and your response. In that space lies your freedom. In that space, you can fall asleep. You can find rest. Imagine yourself floating gently down a quiet river of deep sleep. Each thought that arises is just another empty boat drifting by on the current. You don't need to climb aboard. You don't need to push it away. You don't even need to know where it came from or where it's going. You can simply watch it float past from the quiet safety of your own gentle breath. A thought about yesterday, an empty boat. A worry about tomorrow, another empty boat. A flicker of anger, an empty boat. You are the calm, witnessing presence, the still water that holds everything without being disturbed. Nothing to fix, nothing to chase. Everything is okay. This is the healing from within that so many Zen stories point toward. It's not about changing the world outside of you, but about changing the way you meet it. This is the secret to calming anxiety at night. The world will continue to send its boats. They will drift and bump and sometimes collide. But they no longer have power over your inner state. You have discovered the secret. They are all empty. But what of the burdens you carry? The ones that feel so heavy they could sink your own boat. What about the things you can't seem to put down, long after the river has been crossed? In the tale of the monk and the woman at the river, you'll see how to set them down, freeing your heart to float unencumbered. For now, just rest in this knowing. The anger you felt was a misunderstanding. The offense you took was a case of mistaken identity. You were blaming a pilot who was never there. Let that recognition soothe you. Let it wash over you like a gentle tide, cleansing the shores of your mind. Let go. Let go. Let go. Anger fades when we see no one steers the boat. Only the current of life moves it. There is so much peace available in this one simple shift of perspective. A profound, restful sleep awaits you in this spaciousness. A calm mind is your birthright. It is the still water that was there before the first boat ever arrived, and the water that will remain long after the last one has drifted from sight. You are that stillness, that deep, quiet, unshakable peace. Like a river carrying the boat away, let your burdens drift to the monk who waits by the water's edge.